Hello. You can't hear me now, is that? Is anybody able to hear me now? Okay, no sound at all at the moment. Brilliant. Uh, okay, worked nicely with the test. Okay. Right. YouTube can hear me, but Discord can't. Okay. Um, so maybe Discord. There is sound on YouTube, so that should be working. So because this worked when we did the test as well. So presumably, the people who heard it, IDEO, did you hear it? Um, can you hear me now that I've switched switched mics? Yeah, maybe join the YouTube stream instead. You can comment somewhere else and look on here instead. I'm going to need to do more testing on this one. I've switched the mic on here, and it's still not hearing me on the. So I've like switched it to a different mic. So okay. So do people think that I should just switch over to YouTube for the sound instead? Then is anyone able to do that? People here? Okay, well, I'm going to switch over to YouTube. I apologize to the people in Discord. Um, the uh, so I'm gonna, but I'll switch over to here, and we can take it from here and pretend that none of this ever happened, and see if we can get this working next time. Um, so no sound on YouTube. You're kidding me. Wait, what am? Is the sound on YouTube or not? Okay, great. No, sound on YouTube is fine. Um, yes, actually, that's a good idea. Um, I will stop streaming on the stage, or somebody else can somebody else can join the stage here, and I will, and they can stream the YouTube onto there. We'll get there in the end, everyone. Sorry about this. Still, most of you are here in. Is anybody able to do that for me? Can somebody do the share to Discord? Okay. I can't seem to persuade anyone to share the YouTube to Discord, but if anybody is willing to do that, who is on the who's able to join the stage, then please do. And let's do this. Let's try this again. Okay. So introduce myself. I'm Matt. If you haven't seen me before, I'm Matt Kane. I'm a core maintainer. And what we're doing here is an API bash, which is where we go through some of the new features and just have a look at the API and see how it works and get feedback and just answer questions and so on and so forth. So I'm going to trying to get on with this and ignore all of the problems with the sound and so on, and hopefully everybody who's on YouTube can join in and do your comments and everything. So bit of background, what's going on here. So most people who use Astro will be familiar with content collections. We did a new version of those for Astro 5, which was the content layer, which brought in the concept of loaders, which are ways of loading data. And it does it at build time. So when you run a build, it loads all the data, and then you're able to use it inside your content, inside your pages and collections and so on. So what this lets you do is have a centralized place where you can assemble all of your data and then use it all the way throughout your site with a very simple API. So which is really good, and I like it, and a lot of people like it and everything, and it's a good a good way of handling and organizing all of your data. But there are drawbacks, and the main drawback is that this all happens at build time. So you can't query the data, you can't change the data without rebuilding your site. So that's fine for things that don't change very often. But if you've got something that needs live content, then you can't query that. You can't change that without doing a rebuild. So one of the things that a lot of people have asked for is a way of getting live data or updated data runtime. So that is what this new feature called live content collections is called. So if you're on YouTube, I've got there are some links in the description to all of these docs that I'm looking at here. But what we've got here is this is an RFC, which is the way that we look at new features in Astro. And what we've got here is an RFC, which is the stage 3 RFC, which is the final stage, which is the point where we start to really dig into what the API and the implementation is going to be. So the key difference here is, so if people want to carry along and try this out, just while we get in there early, there is a repo here. It's linked in the description. I'll drop it in here as well. And this is a demo repo that shows how you use a live collection. So it's using a pre-release version of Astro in there. So if you want to try it, just clone it, run pnpm install, and then pnpm dev, and you can try it out. But while you're playing with it, I will talk through a bit about what is going on. So so thanks, Sarah. She shared the docs in there as well. This is these are the docs, the draft and the deploy preview for this new thing. So to be clear, this is not in Astro at the moment. So if you just use normal Astro, this will not work. It's coming soon. The API is maybe going to change, but this is the experimental feature. So the key difference for these is that, as I said, they run at runtime. And so the way that you define them is we've got a new file. So a normal content collections are defined in source content config. But these ones are defined in a new file, which is live config, source live config. And instead of doing define collection, you do define live collection. So the way that you do these is it's a very similar sort of API to the content collections. And then when you use them, it's very similar as well. Get live collection instead of get collection. So let's have a look and see how this is done. So let's have a look at the way that we're doing this here. So if we look at the live config here, so what we've got here is, I will have a look at this, go through this loader a little bit in a minute, but what we've got is this this example loader that I've got built out here. And this is just showing how you can use it. So what I've done here is create a Shopify. Well, I say what I've done is I asked Claude, gave the docs for this, and Claude did a one-shot demo here. So this actually is just a thing built out using the demo API. So we do a define live collection here. We define the loader. And then we export this. So this is almost the same syntax as a build time normal content collection, but it's all just live instead. And then we'll look about how we use it. So we call get, yes, going live right now, exactly. We do get live collection instead of get collection. It's still exported from the same place. And then you've got you querying it for the products. You'll see something slightly different here, but we will look at that in a minute. And you will also see that this returns something different from the way that a normal collection, when you do get collection, a normal get collection doesn't have an error handling or anything in it. It just returns the objects. Because this is happening live, there's more that can go wrong. So what we're doing is we return an object that's got entries and error. And that means that you can do sort of error handling and stuff on it. So if we just go back and look at the actual thing itself, this is what we've got here. So this, if I load this, this is hitting the Shopify API in real time. So this is basically behaving exactly the same as if you've got Shopify clients locally, but instead of that, it's giving you an API that's very Astro-like and behaves in the same way as you would for an Astro, an existing Astro site if you're using like Markdown or some other loader. So these are running live. And now let's have a look at these collections. And then this here is another one where we've got another page. We're looking collections. We've got a similar sort of deal, but you can see here that this is dynamically pulling this from the parameters. You can see that's in the collection men, and this is doing a live entry and calling out. Now, so far, so similar to what you would expect from an existing content collection. The API is very similar. A few little bits about the way that the entries are behaving that's slightly different, but the difference here is, though, that this is happening at real time. So let's have a quick look at the way that these loaders are created. So if we go back and have a look at what we're doing here, is we're doing this. This is the kind of pattern that we would use for loaders in general. So normally we would have like there is the glob loader that we've got built in. That we have effectively we have a function that you pass in some configuration and it returns the loader. If we look at the way that these loaders are defined, if anybody here has created a content loader for the Astro content layer, you will see that it's quite similar, except for it's got load collection instead of load, because there is load collection and load entry. And these are different functions. And the reason for that is because you need different ways of getting you're going to have different ways of getting a collection than getting a single entry, because you are mapping this through to the API that is the backing thing here. So what I've got here, you can ignore this get Shopify products thing. This is basically just a kind of quick knock together API that hits the GraphQL thing. This basically just, consider this an API that gets data in some way. And the point of this is that this can be an abstraction of any sort of API that you want. And what this does is this gives you the ability to have these returned as a collection in the same sort of way. So if we've got these products that are hitting the API, so it's passing through this filter, which I'll get to in a minute, and then we just return these as entries with ID and data. And then we have error handling built in here as well. So we're just throwing that. Then if we look at load entry, that's for getting a single one, and it will be having a filter that's passed in there. Now, what I'm going to say is if anybody has got any questions, please just drop them in either chat. Actually, I've got them both open on the side. So if you want to talk in the YouTube chat or the Discord chat, you should be able to, you can see if you're on YouTube, you can see the Discord chat down in the side of the screen. But please ask me questions in either of those places. But what this does is then lets you return this, and it's a return, loads the entry and returns it. And basically what this then does is it gives a way of abstracting this. And so people are able to call this inside here. So calling get collection, and then it returns it, and you've got it in there. Now, so you might see here that we've got this first for thing in there, and what's going on? Why have we got this? Now, what I'm going to show is I'm going to switch over to the products one here as an example of what's going on there, because this is another get collection thing that we've got here. So I'm going to switch over to the products. Actually, where have we got? Go back to products. Got them here. So this is, as you'd find in many stores, a filtering thing. You've got filtering and sorting, and nothing particularly magical here. But this is something that what this is doing is that this is a new thing that is added into here that is different from the get collection for normal content layer, is that this is not queried after you've loaded it. This is then passed through to the original API. So it does a native query, we say. It does it passes that directly through to Shopify. So the reason we're doing it like that, so if we were to have a normal collection, so a build time collection, because we've got all of that collection locally, we can easily just filter it in memory and it doesn't really matter. But what we want to do here is we want to pass that through to the underlying API to keep it more efficient and so on. But so this is why there is this slightly different syntax, in that we have these, we've got the filters that we can pass through. And let's have a look at the way that these filters are defined. So so here we've got this filter, which we can see is this type of product collection filter. And all that is done here is being passed through to our API. This API is then using this to pass it through to the GraphQL API of Shopify. Now, you don't need to care about this. You could be using the official GraphQL client or something like that. It doesn't matter. The point is that this is then exposed as an argument for when you're doing get collection, and this is typed. So these loaders, to make it so that users are able to have type safe querying for these filters and type safe data. So if we go back to these, we'll see that these are not working, of course, because why would it? Okay, well, obviously, as I'm demoing this has stopped working, but these would usually these are usually supposed to be type safe. Sorry, question from ArcNoodle. Yeah, so the params and stuff here are effectively what we're doing is we are passing those through. So we've got these search params here, which are in this, and I think what I'm getting at here is that these filters are, you just pass them through to the API, and the reason that we're doing this as a Yeah, so there's a perfectly, a perfectly good question for this is why are we doing this with this abstraction? Why do we have this get live collection? Why don't we just query the Shopify loader and a Shopify API and do it like that? There are a few reasons that we've got on that. One of them is about it's just about the usability. So having an integration that you can say, okay, I want Shopify. You can add, install the Astro Shopify integration that doesn't exist. There may be one that exists, but this is not real. But what I'm saying is, if you were able to then install this collection, all you would need to do is add that in there, and then you've got access to it in the same way as all of these other things, and you can mix them all together and have access to them all in there, which is nice. It's a good thing there. But some of the and obviously it's nice that you've got automatic tick type safety when it actually works, which clearly is. The demo gods are not smiling on me today. But the other thing is that what we don't have, we've only got in a little part of it so far, but what we are hoping to then add later is, because we have access to this internally in Astro, so we are able to track things that have changed, we will be able to handle more stuff to do with caching for this. So at the moment, I'm not doing any caching for this thing. But what we will be able to do is we will give an API that will allow this to handle caching for you automatically. So we will be able to tag. So let's have a look at what we're doing here from some of the tagging stuff. So what we've got is this thing called a cache hint. Now, cache hints on this are not used for anything at the moment. They're exposed. They're a thing that we've got created that loaders are able to pass in, but they don't actually do anything at the moment. But I'll show you how they can be used, and they will be something that we will use internally eventually. Coming soon, I will tell you about it. But what we've got going here is, so for example, in this load entry here, actually that shouldn't be on there, that should be. So what this is doing is this is returning this thing called a cache hint, and this is a tag. Now, what this is doing is this is the equivalent of HTTP cache tags, which you may or may not have heard of. They are supported on some CDNs like Cloudflare and Netlify and Fastly and stuff. But what they are is a way of caching, invalidating a cache specifically according to an individual item. So what this would be able to do is say that we've got this page is using a product that is this particular product, and then when we are doing the querying, we will magically be able to know every single product that particular page uses. So we will be able to say, okay, we're going on to the home page here, and it's using these products. So this page can be cached as long as these products do not change. And it can also be cached, and as long as the list of collections doesn't change. So this is confusingly collections in the Shopify sense rather than in the Astro sense. It's pretty much like that on TanStack. I've not used TanStack much, but that's pretty much how it is. But basically, what this is then going to be able to do is I'm going to show a little about the sort of thing that this could be used for. So I'm going to in the collection thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to put in a tag for the individual product as well. Let's just copy that. And so this is going to give this cache hint for each of the individual products. So let's see what this actually looks like in real life. So cache hint is also returned by the that's so can you see here? These are the cache tags that have been returned. So what this is saying is that this page is using all of these tags. So anything on this page, these are the things that it's using. Now, what can we do this? So at the moment, as I said, Astro's got no native root caching built in, but what we will be able to do, what we can do here is set the cache tag header, which is the one that I was saying. Cache hints. Oh, not cache hint. Cache hint tags join, obviously. Yes. Okay, let's have a look, see what we've got on here. I apologise that I can't get Firefox to increase the size on this, but what I've got here is that this now we can see has got cache tag and has tagged all of those individual items that's responded, that it's used in there. So, great. So what? Who cares? What you can do, so say you're in, say you're using Netlify or say you're using Cloudflare or whatever, you can have your CMS or whatever, or your integration more likely, this isn't something you're probably going to want to do manually, you can have it contact them and then say, invalidate the cache on every single page that uses men's t-shirt. So it would send in an invalidation query that would say, purge all pages that have this tag on them. And this is basically going to be allow you to do something that's sort of kind of ISR type arrangement. And this will, obviously, this is not something that works at the moment. I mean, you will be able to do this. So this will be something that you can handle yourself if you want. And then you can do the same for the I can't remember the this is off the top of my head, so what was it called? Max age. I don't know why it's and what this will also have done is this will have found the shortest of the max ages across all of these as well. Now, this is slightly less useful for some of these things, but it could be that you've got, say, a particular collection that we know changes all the time, and another collection that hardly ever changes, and you'll be able to say, you'll be able to decide that, oh, that's what is that, that you'll be setting it that it will cache the shortest of all the things that are available on that page. So this is Yeah, so Heidi has asked a question there about the context. So we've got some context stuff available there at the moment. I'm trying to remember exactly what loads what they what is available in the right. Yeah. So at the moment, it's just filter. The idea will be that I will put more stuff in the context thing in there. I haven't put in stuff like the logger and so on at the moment because this is going to be a different logger. Because bear in mind that this is running at runtime, so we have different log things that are available. But one of the things that I would like to have in there, which you may have noticed being added to Astro a few weeks ago, not coincidentally, is render markdown. So at the moment, the there is no way to do markdown in this. You can't, because it's not coming from a file on disk. There is no easy way of doing markdown in there. But what we could do is, if you've got markdown coming from somewhere, we could you would be able to use the render markdown helper if there is one available, which there isn't at the moment. And then you would be able to do equals, made up. Imagine this, and this would do rendered for that. I will give this as an example here, but this is effectively what it would generate. It would generate the HTML here. Now this is all the stuff that's supported in current current collections and works for this as well. So you see here we've got rendered HTML. Now what we'll be able to do is on the product pages. Actually, let's go to here. Let's import. Actually, which one was I getting this from? Get collection. Okay. I'll get this in there. So bear with me on this one. What I'm doing is I'm going to change this to be on the now on the product page. I will get render, and then we'll do const content equals await render product, and then that will be able to give you so this will that now mean that these live loaders can have native Astro rendering support as well if they're able to do HTML, and obviously a lot of these things are able to do HTML. I didn't actually look at the API for Mockshop to see whether let's have a look. Let's see if Mockshop includes if the Shopify API includes HTML. Probably does. Anyone know these? This is there is an API here somewhere, isn't there? that's all we've got. Description HTML. Beautiful. Okay, let's do this. So if I go back to this loader, this is all, you know, we're working in real time here at the moment. So description. How was it capitalized? HTML. Don't blame me for any of this. This was all written by Claude. Products and product. Okay. Shopify product. See how this works. Let's go. Let's do this. I should have really thought to do this one before, actually. Okay. HTML product. There we go. Description. Oh, look, we're getting some typing in here in this one. Let's. Right. Drum roll, please. Right. Instead of this, let's put content in there. Now, I've no idea if any of these have got HTML, but look, there we go. I mean, these may or may not have any HTML, but okay. So, Tom, thank you for the question. At the moment, we get no helpers on there. It's literally passed through to the API. What I would really like to do is have some helpers for things like pagination, at least. But generally, and I would also like to kind of at least have some conventions for making these things, like giving them a common format, so that we don't get totally arbitrary. But you know, that's something that we can discuss and see if people have got any feedback on it. But yeah, the idea would be that if we did pagination and stuff, it could be something that we gave helpers for handling that. But so if that was not clear what's going on there, but we've basically now created a renderer, and we've now got a way of having a component that displays the description from the of the product using the product HTML. Now, Shopify is not being massively forthcoming in giving us an actual something that's got any HTML in it. But okay, so I'm sure, you know. Imagine that there's some lovely HTML in there for these displays, but let's just, you know, take this as read that we've got these. But this, I think, hopefully this can give you an idea of the sort of stuff that this could be done in here. Now, I'm going to talk about some error handling as well. So, okay, so what this is doing here is this is returning a not found thing here. Now, that's not really what we want to do. When it's not found, when the entry is not found, we'll return nothing. And the reason that we will do that is that it means that we will be able to get a common response that we'll be able to use for everything, which is a not found, a live entry not found error. Now, that's so that's doing a redirect, which is obviously not really what we would want for something like this, but what we can do is, because we've got this error thing here, we can do what was it called? Live collection, live entry not found error. And now that, so we've got other errors as well. So this, what we can do is we can use Zod schemas as well. So maybe we'll have a look at that in a minute. And that will give a specific error for schema validation too. So this one here we can do, obviously this isn't really what we want, but oh, no, that should be error, shouldn't it? That should be error. Yeah. So that, if you can see what's going on there, is that this is seeing that it's giving this particular type of error. And that's just an example of some of the way that you can have these structured errors that give a common sort of API for these things. So. Yeah, I think that probably should be exported from there. Let's have a look. Yeah, they should be, but they appear to not be. So, well spotted. Thanks, Sarah, for sharing that on there. So let's go and have a look at the live config for doing schemas here as well. So if you've used content collections from Astro already, you will know that you can define a schema for handling a product, or handling any entries from there. And what the schema does is it will validate or transform, and can be used will generate types as well. So what I can let's import Zod. So let's imagine that we've got this product that is just we've got this made up thing here, and I don't think we actually need to restart that, but I just did it out of habit. And so now we've got our collections here. Okay. Let's get Zod from somewhere else. I think we've got a problem with the the exports on this one. Um, so now this is going to mean that we've got an error. Now this is not being helpful at the moment because we're catching those errors, but yeah. So now we will let's have a let's log the what's in the entry. Oh, not entry, collection. So you see, because I've done the Zod thing now, all it's returning is the ID. So it's the fact that we've got a Zod schema here is now passing that and just putting the ID out. And what this could mean is that you're able to do transforms and stuff on it. The typings for this will override the types that the loader has done. So if you've got a loader that is being, you've got this, say, this from Node module or something, and it's and they've got their particular shape of the thing that's being returned, and you want to actually change the shape to something else, you can define a schema that will handle the parsing and everything on it. So if we've got another thing here, then what this will then do is give let's throw that error for now, and then we will get there we go. We'll see that the this thing doesn't match, and that's just a showing that you can do runtime validation for these things as well. And that's obviously that's all built in, working in the same way as any other Astro type of collection. Okay. Yeah. So question from Tom about preview branches for visual editing. This previews visual editing and preview builds. This is absolutely one of the things that this would be is one of the things that this was designed for. So that would be an example of something where you can use this, where you would say, for example, change the way that the caching behavior was happening. And or you could be switching between different sorts of collections, whether you were having live collections or build time collections. One thing that should be made clear is that you can't use, well, I mean, you can use these at build time. That's not the ideal. That's not what that's not what we would recommend. You don't get any of the benefits that you would get from a normal collection, of the way that it's cached and can be queried locally and so on. This is very much designed for just using in SSR. But this is something where you could say, for example, when it's deployed, you could set a long cache header on it, or like a persistent cache header. The Netlify's got one where you can basically set a thing on, I think it's called durable or something. There's a thing you can set in the cache response that basically caches it for the whole deploy until it's manually invalidated. So it behaves almost like a static build, and it's a sort of ISR through a cache header kind of thing. So you could, in theory, implement preview mode using something like this. Now, a having a an example of something that integrates with Astro DB for this kind of thing would be nice. It's not something that I've tried to dig into, but in theory, you could have something like this that works with Astro DB. So yes, yes. So the live collection error is the base type for all of them, and you can use and you can do like the expected error handling on there as well. So you can say, okay, if this is an Astro an error from that's been thrown by the loader, you could do you could do no live collection error. And then that would mean that it would throw only if it's one of the built-in types. So this would if you'd thrown some random error, it wouldn't do anything. But if you threw one of your own, if this would mean that this would only catch the native ones created by Astro. And you can do instance of for that as well if you want. So I'm gonna probably, unless people have got any other questions, I'm gonna probably wrap this up soon, as I'm starting to lose my voice, because I've been doing a lot of talking. Has anybody tried cloning it and given it a go and had a look yet? I mean, you can. I'll probably do a push to add the rendering side of it because that's a good example. I'm not gonna. Let's see where have I got to at the moment. Yeah. Let's. I'll push this and. Oh, that was a mistake, wasn't it? I don't want to do the schema. Let's get rid of the schema. Okay, so now that's got those changes that I've got in there. They are in the repo, so have a play on that. It should still be working. And let me know how you go on. Sarah has shared the link for the RFC in the chat. It's also in the description. If you've got feedback, that is the place to put it, and it'd be very useful. I mean, this is feedback, particularly on just the way this works, the design of the API, all that kind of thing, and just let us know what you think, which bits you like, which bits you hate, whether you would use this, and any other ideas and suggestions that you've got for it. Yeah, so we've got a question from Laugh. So this is, I mean, how would you differentiate this from on-demand rendering if this becomes reality? It would essentially create SSR that works regardless of runtime, of environment, or deploy location, wouldn't it? Yes, effectively it is. I mean, as I was saying there, you probably would want to avoid doing this for static builds because it's not the most efficient way of doing it, but it would work. And I think maybe we need to work out some ways to give some kind of affordances for that to make it a bit some kind of way of making this work nicely between the two of those. But yeah, I mean, the idea for this is effectively to make it so that you've got this as a way of doing SSR or on-demand rendering, as we call it, and that's what this is for, and a way of doing that in a way that's going to give you the right kind of usability and nice helpful Astro bits that you get from the existing content collections. So thanks everyone. We're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to wrap this up. And thanks everyone for coming along. Those of you that came along early, sorry for the sound issues, and particularly thank you for everyone who asked questions. I'm now going to say goodbye. Have a nice day.